This right here is probably going to have to be one of the hardest decisions you'll have to make. Let's begin. Growing tomatoes is a very rewarding experience. If you've gotten this far, I want to say congratulations. But you're going to have to do something with these little guys that, even to this day of me growing tomatoes for over 10 years, is a very hard decision that I have to make of why you should go from this to this. You grew these things from seed. You've watched them as they peek through the soil for the first time, and you panicked, just like I did, when they were growing too fast because the light was too far away from them. And now you have a cup full of precious, beautiful baby tomatoes. Tomato plants, by the way. But they cannot stay this way. And let me explain. Tomato plants are very heavy feeders. But this right here is not what you want when it comes to growing your tomatoes. In this cup here alone, I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. There are 7 baby tomato plants in this one cup alone. This is a huge, huge problem. All of these tomato plants are going to be competing for nutrients. And tomato plants do not want to share. They're basically like your kids. Your kids do not want to share their food. Not to mention these little tomato plants here, they will not want to share the fertilizer that you give them. Plus, this right here is going to slow down your tomato plant's growth. You're going to have much smaller plants. Tomato plants, needs 8 weeks before they're ready to transplant outside. But if you leave all your plants inside of this cup here because you're looking at them like, oh man, look at this right here. I got a cup full of tomato plants. I put this in the ground. I'm going to have a whole plethora of tomato plants. Actually not. You're not going to get a bunch of tomatoes by keeping them all inside of this small cup. I mean, look how small this cup is. These tomato plants are not going to stay little forever. And having all of these plants piled up inside of a cup like this right here, the cup itself is going to get full of roots. And all of these tomato plants are going to become stressed. Not to mention with all of them fighting for the nutrients that you give to them. So what do we have to do to alleviate this problem? Well, it's something that necessarily has to be done. That's right. We're going to have to thin out these tomato plants, leaving only the healthiest one and the one that you want to actually produce the fruit that you want. Now just think about it this way right here. One tomato plant on here could produce for you over 50 pounds of tomatoes. Now that's a lot of tomatoes to have off of just one plant. If you put all these plants right here in the ground, they're going to be crowded, which is going to invite diseases and pests, and before you know it, you're pretty much setting yourself up for failure. That is one thing that you don't want to do. Let's go ahead and let's do the thinning. As we look on our plant here, we probably notice that this one here is too small, so that one's going to have to come out. Whew, that's painful. I know it is, but just remember, you're going to have one healthy tomato plant that's going to produce a lot of fruit for you. That is the main thing. All these plants in here competing for nutrients is not a good thing. Let's go ahead and find another plant in here that we're going to have to thin out. Okay, so we got 2 here that are pretty small, and they're not gonna do well, so we're going to have to clip those out. I know it's painful, but trust me, it's going to work out. Don't worry. We got this one here. We're going to thin that one out there. This one in the corner we're going to take out. And this little small one right here, we're going to take this one out too. Okay. Now I know this right here seems cruel, and I know it may seem unusual, but this right here is necessary. Now that you only have one tomato plant in this cup here, you have no other plants that's going to compete for the nutrients. That means that this one plant right here alone is going to get the nutrients that you give it, meaning the plant's going to be healthy, is not going to be stressed, and not to mention tomatoes do not like to be crowded. That is one thing that you do not want to do when it comes to growing your tomato plants. Now, if this is your first time growing tomato plants, don't worry. You're going to go through something like this right here, and I know it's going to be stressful, but just remember, you want to have a healthy tomato plant. And this right here is not going to get you there. Thin out your seedlings just like we have right here, and I guarantee you within a week, this tomato plant will be twice the size of what it is. Now, if you have any questions or anything about how to grow tomato plants, please leave them in the comment section below. And please like and subscribe to my channel if you'd like to learn anything else about growing tomatoes, cucumbers, melons, or any other type of crops that we would normally grow in our gardens, whether it be in a container or in hydroponics. I'm John Jr., and this is the Emerald Thumb. Take care of yourselves. God bless. Bye-bye.